In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a WordPress post. Now, in a separate tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a WordPress page. The two are very, very similar. If you're only interested in pages, please watch this video anyway. In the video on pages, I'm going to show you the differences between posts and pages. There are some big differences, but mostly they are very, very similar. So a lot of what you learn in this video will apply to pages as well. Now I'm going to walk through the basics of creating a post. In separate videos, I'm going to show you how to spice things up by adding images, creating a photo gallery, adding audio and video, working with post formats, that sort of thing. This is sort of the entry-level creating a post video. We're going to cover a lot of ground as it is. Those more advanced features are going to be covered in separate tutorials. So I'm in WordPress at the Add New Post screen, and there are a couple different ways to get here. The menu on the top, the New menu, I can choose Post, and that'll take me to the screen. And over on the left, if I go to Post and choose Add New, that'll get me here also. It doesn't matter which method I choose, I'll get to the same screen. And this is where we create WordPress posts. And we start by entering the title. Now the title is what will appear at the top of the page with most WordPress themes. And it's going to probably be clickable on other pages as well. So when you see a list of WordPress posts, the title is usually the thing that people click on to get to the full post. So this really is a key piece of content. So you want to make sure you enter a good title. So I enter my title, and what you'll notice as I move out of this field is underneath it, the permalink appears. Now, the permalink is the URL to the page that we're going to publish here. I'm calling it a page, but it's a post. It's a web page when it's published. And this permalink uses the permalink settings, which I discuss in more detail in a video on permalink settings. But then it also uses the title that I've entered for the page or post specific portion of the address. And it replaces the spaces with dashes. That's an SEO thing. We want to make sure that we conform to best practices for search engine optimization. We'll worry more about search engines later, but that's the reason for the dashes instead of spaces. And if you ever want to change the permalink for an individual page, this is where you would go do it. If you wanted to make it shorter, for example, you could go ahead and edit it and then click OK, and that's how you edit your permalink. But that's generated automatically from the title. As soon as you enter the title and then move out of that field, WordPress will automatically set up that permalink for you. Now below that, we have the post editor, and this is where most of the work is done. This is where we author our content and format it and add our links and do all of that other stuff we're going to be talking about in future videos, like adding media, embedding photo galleries, that sort of thing. So, but in this video, we're just going to create a little post, and then I'm going to show you how to format it as well. One thing I want to point out here is there are two different modes. There's a visual mode and a text mode, and you can switch between those by clicking this tab. Now, the visual mode gives you a general idea of what the page or the content will look like on a web page, including all of the formatting and links. The text mode actually shows you what the underlying HTML looks like. Now, for most people, you're using WordPress because you don't want to have to learn HTML. So I'm going to guess that for most of you, you're going to be working in the visual tab. Occasionally, you will need to switch over to the text tab to see what's going on underneath when things are not formatting the way you expect them to. Sometimes the only way to figure out what's happening is to look at the text mode. There are also times when you want to cut and paste HTML, for example. You want to do that in text mode. If you cut and paste HTML in visual mode, it's not going to look right. You're going to see the actual HTML on the web page, and that's not what you want to see. So we're going to stick in visual mode, and I'm going to go ahead and add some content, and we're going to take this to the next level and add a little bit of formatting with our toolbar up here. Okay, so I've created my content. This is just my basic post content, and it's pretty plain, but it's readable, it's legible. But we might want to add a little bit of formatting. And fortunately, WordPress gives us this toolbar across the top. You might be familiar with a similar toolbar from a program like Microsoft Word, for example. So basically, in the editor, I can just go ahead and highlight things and then click a toolbar button like bold, italic, If I wanted to, I could add bullets. I could change the alignment and center things, or right align if I wanted to. Now there are some styles here as well. This is the paragraph style, which most of our text will be in. But if you want to use subheaders, you can apply subheaders using this drop-down style box. And WordPress will go ahead and insert the proper HTML tags. That's a good way to break up a post. If it's very long, you want to add many subheaders, or as many subheaders as you need. You could set those all to heading level 2, and then WordPress would take care of that. And of course, links are a popular thing that you would want to add to a post. So say, for example, I wanted to turn this into a link to another website. I would highlight the text and click on the link toolbar button. And that is going to pop up this little box underneath what I've highlighted, and this is where I can enter my URL that I want to link to. I just type it in or paste it in if I've already got it copied. And when I'm done, I enter, and that's it. You see that it is a link to Google, and I can edit it by clicking the edit icon. And I could unlink it by clicking the unlink icon. But if I move away, there it is. It's a functioning hyperlink. Now, if I switch over to text mode, you're going to see that WordPress has added the HTML underneath, and I don't need to worry about the details. That's just kind of happening automatically without me having to know anything about it. Now, there's a toolbar button on the right here that's toggle toolbar. This last button here on the toolbar. When I click that, a secret second line opens up. So these are some additional formatting controls that we have. This paste as text is going to be useful if you're drafting your post in another program and then pasting it into WordPress. You'll want to use that paste as text. Now, when I scroll down, I've got some other options here. Below the post editor, there is discussion options. These allow me to control whether or not I want comments to appear on my page and whether or not I want trackbacks and pingbacks. Trackbacks and pingbacks are when someone else links to a post on your website. Unfortunately, both trackbacks and pingbacks have been widely used by spammers to inject links to their website on your website. So in most cases, I turn off trackbacks and pingbacks. They're just more trouble than they're worth. Allow comments is really up to you. If you are into allowing comments on your site, or if you're into controlling comments on your site, be sure to watch the video on discussion settings. That will allow you to set up some global settings that determine whether or not comments are allowed on your site or not. But this is a more granular approach where you would be able to allow comments on individual posts or disable comments on individual posts. And then further down there is this author box, which gives us the option to assign a post to a different author. Further down there's an excerpt box. Sometimes the theme will automatically generate the excerpt from the first so many characters of your post. You can override that by specifying what the excerpt should be down here. So if you really want control over how that excerpt appears, you enter the excerpt as you want it to appear down here in the excerpt box. And then further down we've got custom fields, and we're not really going to use custom fields today. Custom fields are a little bit more advanced, and mostly these are used by plugins. Now off to the right we've got categories, and every WordPress post should be in a category. And if you don't assign WordPress post to a category, WordPress will automatically put it in the default category. And you can set up your default category in the writing settings. See the tutorial on writing settings, where I show you how to set up your default category. I'm going to set a category here that's appropriate for my post. Categories are general ways of classifying a post. They're broader. You should probably only have a handful of categories on your site. Despite what you're seeing here in my example page, I've kind of gone crazy on this example site with categories. Not a good example here. I would keep the list of categories fairly small. Tags, on the other hand, you can add a bunch of tags to your post. Tags give context to the content you're publishing on your website. So categories are a way of grouping posts into general classification, and tags are a more specific way of classifying content. And I get into categories and tags in more detail in the videos on categories and tags in the module on organizing your website. But this is how you add categories and tags. If I wanted to add a new category, I could click Add New Category, and I could just actually create a new category from this screen here without having to go someplace else. I could even set it up as a subcategory by selecting a parent category. And we're going to get into featured images and post formats in separate videos. This post is mostly ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and click Publish. And Publish is going to put it live on my website. And now that it's been published, we can go ahead and preview it. And there's my post. Now I want to show you this thing called the More tag. So here I am at my blog page, and this is just a list of my recent blog posts. Now it just so happens that this whole post is appearing on this list, and I really don't want the whole post to be visible. I want my readers to have to click through to get to the individual page. Now the way I can fix this problem is by inserting a More tag, and the More tag is going to automatically generate a link that encourages the reader to click through to continue reading. So let's go back to the post editor. So I'm going to put my More tag after the first paragraph. And so I position my cursor, I put some space in there, and up here in the toolbar, it's the second to the last icon on the top one. If I highlight over that, you'll see it says Insert Read More tag. And when I click that, you'll see that a More line has been added here, a dotted line with the word More in the middle. Now I'm going to go ahead and update this, save my post again, and let's go back and look what happens now on the front end for someone who's reading this site. You see, after that first paragraph, this Continue Reading link has been placed. And so all the rest of the post that was here previously can only be seen if you actually click through and view the full post. Now there's one other feature I want to show you here in the post editor. There's one other button that we've been ignoring on the top toolbar. Off to the far right, there's this distraction-free writing mode. When I click that, the interface just kind of melts away, and all I have is my post and title and my toolbar buttons. All that other WordPress stuff vanishes. So if you're the sort of person who is writing in WordPress, actually composing in WordPress, and you just don't want to be distracted at all, this distraction-free writing mode could be a friend of yours. So give that a try if you like to write in WordPress. And if you don't like writing in WordPress, or if you just want to see the whole WordPress interface, you can feel free to ignore the distraction-free mode. It's just a nice little feature that's there for you to experiment with if you want to. And that's an introduction to creating a post in WordPress. And those were just the basics that'll get you started. You want to continue on in this module and watch the other lessons to learn more about adding media, featured images, and all of the other things that you can do with posts. There's a lot more to follow.